In this video, we're going to prepare some files for print, and I'll show you how I upload, order everything, and what vendors I'm thinking of, as well as kind of what my process looks like. Before I even open the files, I'm going to take a look at this mock-up. Oftentimes I like to print it out, and we do have a production sheet that I highly recommend you using. I'll link that in the description. It's a free sheet that you can grab. So before we get started, I want to make sure I have everything correct as far as quantities. So we have our total quantity, 129. I'm going to write that down. We have our 62 rehearsal and 67 non-rehearsal. So I'm going to make sure I write that down. We're doing printed addressing, and then a note for all of these is that it's natural white paper, which is a little outside of what I normally order. So I wrote that really, really big at the top, natural white paper. So we actually have two orders going on. So all of this is going to be digital printed, including the envelopes, except for this invitation. We're going to have the digital printing, and then the text is going to actually be engraved by Bella Figura. So I will send that file to them, and we have to do some unique file setup. So I'll go ahead and start with the other cards, and then we'll do that one towards the end. I've opened up their file, and the first thing you want to do is save it as print ready so that you can do a lot of things to it and you're not going to mess up that original file in case you need to go back and make changes. All of our text is this dark green color, but when I'm ready to set this up for print, I want to make sure that it's in the right color for digital printing to match the engraving that we're going to use. So I have my engraving sample here from Bella Figura with the text that they're going to use. And I'm going to use my printable palette to come up with a good CMYK code to match that. So I just go over to this green section, find my CMYK code that matches this ink. And since I'm printing from this same printer, I know that it's going to be fairly accurate. So all of the text is currently, this color, and then the color I came up with is this color. So it's not that much different than what's going to appear on screen, but it will print more accurately to match the engraving. So everything that is that color, we want to change to this new color. I've set up a custom keystroke that is Control T, and it's going to select all of the text objects. You can also go to the select panel, click object, and all text objects. Now I'm just going to use my eyedropper tool, which is an F on the keyboard, and change it all to that color. I still will keep this little note to myself in yellow, and I'll press Control 2 to lock that, just so it's not going to move around in the future. So now all of the text is that correct color that we want. You move that out of the way. And we have a few things to order here: envelope liners, all of our cards, envelopes, as well as this wax seal. So a couple of things to note is I'm going to delete certain things that are not necessary, such as these envelope fronts, as well as the mist color of the envelopes. We use that for mock-up purposes, but we don't actually need that on the final piece. And then seal, we don't need that background option, and we also don't need the drop shadow. So I'll turn that off, and this needs to be in 100% K. Perfect. I'll release the clipping mask on the envelope liner and anything else I'm using. I also want to make sure I'm not accidentally printing that line. I usually have that as a 0 stroke, but you could also just delete it if you're not totally sure and want to make sure that it's not going to accidentally print that outline for you. We'll make sure this goes all the way to the red bleed lines. If you're not sure about bleeds, I have another video on those. And we don't have any other designs that bleed or used any clipping masks. So now the only thing we really need to do is outline all of our text. So I'll click Control T. I'm going to unselect the engraving text because I need to revisit how we set up that file. And I'll unselect this placeholder that we have for all of the guest addresses because I want to keep the font size and font information, tracking, etc. when I'm making that file and doing the data merge for that. So now I'll just right click and you can do Shift Control O or just click Create Outlines here. And now all of the text is outlined. This is the point where you definitely want to make sure you have this as a print ready file and it's not your original file, because this is the point where the text is no longer editable. So a couple things are going to be the same for everyone. The first is the map. So all of our text has been edited. This looks good to go. I'll go ahead and save this out. So Control Shift S to save. I'm going to create a new folder called Print Ready and put all of my files in here. And those are within the Catherine and Ben folder. So I don't need to add their names to this or anything. I'm only working with one file set at a time. So I don't really need to add a ton of information. I just need to put what card this is. So we'll say map. And since these are slightly unusual sizes and they've changed a couple times during the design process, I'm gonna put the size there just to remind me. We'll save as a PDF. Range, which one was that? Artboard 5. And we'll click save. Now what I typically like to do is uncheck preserve Illustrator editing capabilities. This will make the file size smaller. And then I'm going to usually use the document bleed settings, which are 0.125 on all sides. Again, if you don't know about bleeds, ask your printer or check out our other video on that. I'm going to be ordering all of the digital prints with Printswell Fulfillment. If you haven't used them, my code, or tell them Laney sent you, use my link, you'll get $25 off your first order, and they are incredible. I'll show you their ordering system in a second. So we'll save that PDF. I know that they require that 0.125 bleed on all sides. This is going to take a second because of all the watercolor. It's a little bit larger of a file. When you go into Printswell's ordering system, you can click Start Order. We're going to select our product type. This is a flat card. It's A7 size. We want the cotton natural white. And this option is for printing on the back or front. In this place, we're only printing on the front. And this is the same for everyone. So my total quantity is 129. I want to get at least 5 extras, but nothing is really happening to this piece. It's just going to go in. I don't have to do any extra production on it. So I only need about 5 extras. I'll order 135. Upload my file. Because I'm only working on one file at a time, usually my home will have all of these as our recent files. So it's really easy to find them. What I love about Printswell is it'll tell you if something is wrong. So it's informing us that the map is in fact A6. And we can see that over here. Again, I mentioned these change sizes a bunch. This is an example where the production sheet can really help you, but I love that Printswell is also able to help us here. We'll start over, grab our A6 size. Upload that file and it will tell us again if something is wrong, but this is actually A6, so it's sized correctly. And it will also give us a little preview to make sure we uploaded the correct file. Beautiful preview. Sometimes this looks a little blurry to the eye. I promise that has nothing to do with your quality. We don't need any special finishing here, and we can go ahead and add that to our cart. On my list here, I have all the different cards, so I'll go ahead and cross out the map card. Next up, we'll do the reply cards. And as you can see, I have a little outline here of the ticket shape. So we do want to make sure we delete that ticket shape so we don't accidentally print that outline. That was just for mock-up purposes. I did use the Stationer's Creative Cloud library, which has all of Printswell and a bunch of other vendors' die cut shapes, swatch palettes, etc. I use that to get that shape directly here in Illustrator to make my mock-up a little bit faster. So then we have 2 different versions here. I'm going to save them out the same way and just make sure I know which one is which. So Artboard 10 has Thursday on it as well, which means those are the rehearsal dinner people. So I'll save that. CP. I'm going to put REH for rehearsal, and I have put on here that I need 62. So I'm just going to re-put that in the file name to help me out. That's Artboard 10. All of your saving settings should stay the same, but you can always check to make sure if they don't. And then we'll do the same with Artboard 6, but this is the non-rehearsal dinner one. We need 67 of those. Artboard 6. Now, same exact thing for these 2 artboards, but we'll make sure to note which one has the Thursday information and which one doesn't. While I'm doing this, I'm just checking again to make sure I know the right sizes. So this itinerary is actually A7, and our RSVP cards are A2. Next, I'll save out the envelope liner and the RSVP address for that envelope. When I'm thinking about this ordering process before I actually have to order everything, I'm kind of putting together everything that I can order from what different vendors so that I can keep the vendor list as small as possible. We are going to have to send out the engraving to a different vendor. Potentially, sometimes we do envelopes somewhere else, but I try to encourage people to use envelope colors that my main printer, Princewell, is going to carry, or if they want something else, I'm looking at other printers who might carry those colors to try and figure out what else we can do with those. So then we can cut down on things like shipping costs, any potential for mistakes, especially if you have pieces that need digital printing and then engraving or beveling, edge painting, die cutting, all these things that need to happen from different people. You have to then work backwards and order a ton of extras. So we need 129 for this, but to get the engraving done, we're going to have to send them like 50, 75 overs in order to do that. So we have to pay for the digital printing on all those extra pieces, send it to them, and then if something's wrong with those pieces and then they engrave them anyway, we would have to start over from scratch. So you kind of want to see where those roadblocks can be in the ordering process and minimize those as much as possible. When I am ordering something that gets shipped directly to another vendor, I'm always going to ask them to send me a picture so I can just make sure that it all came out correctly. And I'm going to send them a composite file that shows all the different pieces together so they can see, where the engraving goes in relation to the digital printing, what the digital printing should look like, so that they can do the engraving on the right pieces. And if something's a little bit wrong, they can always message me and say, hey, I think something's wrong. That way we could just reprint the digital pieces. We wouldn't have to start over from scratch. One time I sent digital prints to a foil printer. The digital prints were kind of messed up, but they didn't notice. And so when it got to me, I had to start over, pay for new digital prints and new foil prints because it wasn't the foil printer's fault that the issue happened. So minimizing the number of steps in your process is just going to help reduce errors and reduce checks that you have to do. One of the reasons I do love Princewell because they carry almost everything that I'm going to need. And then if I need to do something specialty, that's only a 2-step process. And I'm very familiar with their ordering system, file setup, etc. So whoever you're going to use, whether it's Princewell or any of our other favorite stationery printers, I'll link a couple for you. The more familiar you get with their systems, the fewer mistakes you're going to make. So we'll start with those itineraries. Those are flat card A7, cotton natural white, and only one-sided. Now we'll start with our rehearsal. We need 62. And again, these are not having any production done to them. So I can just order a few extra. I could do 65, but I think I'm just going to do 70 round up. This is the rehearsal itinerary. Looks great. Remind myself that I have Thursday on here, so I uploaded the correct one. No finishing. We don't need any envelopes. We can add that to our cart. Same thing with the other version, we need 67, so I'm going to order 75. Confirm again that this does not have the Thursday information, no envelopes, add to cart. Now I'll do those envelope liners. Those are A9 size, and since we are attaching those to envelopes, there's some potential for error, so I'm going to order a few more extras. So we need 129. I'm going to order 140 just to give myself a little bit of wiggle room in case I mess something up. I would rather tear out the envelope liner and put a new one in than have to reprint the envelope on both sides. Looking beautiful. Add to cart. Now I'm crossing off some things. So we have our liners. We did both of our itineraries. Now it's time for the RSVP cards. This is again a flat card, but it's going to be a die cut card. So I'll show you how to order those. Start with rehearsal, which we're ordering 70 of. Perfect. And this has Thursday, just to confirm. Okay, now on this finishing options tab, this is where we do the die cut shape. If there are die cut options for the size that you've chosen, it will show them here. If it's not showing them, that's because they don't have them for every single size. If you need to see what size dies they carry, you can go into this need help section and they'll have a list of everything. So we want our ticket shape. We don't need hole drilling or angled corners. We don't need, we do need envelopes for these because it's RSVPs. So we're going to put all the envelopes on this card and then we'll order the other card separately just so all the envelopes are done together. So we're going to choose the mist color. And how many envelopes would you like? We don't really need a lot of extras here, so I'll just do 135. Would you like to imprint? Yes, just on the front side. And then you can do variable data if you want, but for an RSVP address, we don't need to do that. So RSVP address. And sometimes I find that it's kind of complicated when you're uploading the envelopes so you just need to either memorize those sizes, or you can just look at this size and resize your artboard. So 4.375, 5.7. Okay, so I'm just gonna make it the exact size that it's asking. And then I will resave that one with no bleeds. So it's just that artboard size. This is number 7. There's a lot of math in this part of the invitation design process, which is sometimes fun and sometimes less fun. So I'll just turn off the bleeds so that it's going to save it at that final artboard size. Give it a second to replace the old file, and we should be good. Okay, beautiful. We do not want liners for these envelopes. So we can look at this full card and make sure we've done everything correct. So we have our A2 card, we have our correct paper, quantity of 70 for the ones that include Thursday, that's correct. Ticket shape upgrade, missed envelopes, and we have 135 because we want all the envelopes on this product. And then the printing, we'll add to cart. Now we can order the other ones more simply, just the cards. So do A7, cotton natural white, and we are ordering 75 of this version, non-rehearsal. On that finishing tab, make sure we select our ticket upgrade. No envelopes on this product, so we have them all on the other product. All right, so we have our RSVP, ticket shape upgrade, missed envelopes with printing. We have 70 of those, but we have 135 envelopes. RSVP with ticket upgrade, 75. 2 itinerary, 70 and 75. I'm going to check to make sure all the papers are correct. Cotton natural white, since it's not one that I usually order. Oh, and great example here. This paper we could do not a bright white, but we could do a soft white. It won't matter too much since the entire paper is covered. But just in case, I'm going to go back through and order this on the eggshell white. That's an example of I order the same thing so many times that when we go out of the ordinary, it's a little awkward, but great example of just checking through and making sure every part of the suite is exactly as you want it before you submit your order. So on those small areas of white, this will match, and just tonally, it will match everything. It'll help all the ink match tonally, everything else that's on here as opposed to the bright white. So we'll delete that one. Okay, we have RSVP envelopes. We have 2 RSVP cards. And that is almost everything that's going on this order. I also am going to do our envelopes. However, I haven't done the mail merge. I have another video on that, and I don't want to like bog you down with that. So how we would order that is just in this envelope section. Since we're not ordering the A9 card on this order, we'll have to order them separately. If we were ordering an A9 card on this order, we could just add the envelopes on like we did with the RSVPs, but we can order them by themselves. There's no difference. It's not cheaper or anything. Okay, and we're gonna have 135 envelopes. We do want to print on both sides, and we will have variable data printing on here. Once I get that PDF ready, we'll get that, and we'll add the return address on here as well. We could have added the liners on this particular listing. We could have Princewill line them for us. I'm not going to do that in this particular case, mostly just because it's coming to me. I'm going to have time to assemble everything, and I don't mind. I actually like assembling liners. Usually can add a product to cart even if you haven't uploaded the files yet, and sometimes my assistant and I will do this if she needs me to create a file, but she's going to create the order and then I can just go in and upload it. So here we have every single thing on this order, and you can see this is $586, so this is a fairly costly order, and we haven't even gotten the invitation yet. Since we're sending that to the engraver, we're going to place that as a separate order. So Bella Figueroa sent me this setup document. They want our artboard at 9.75 by 9 with this kind of nested up in the corner with even bleeds on all 3 of these sides, and they want 65 extra to get a quantity of 130, so we need to do 195. So since they don't have an exact ordering system like Princewill does, we are just going to send them the files that we create. So I'll take this as my composite and I'm going to save it out as a composite file. This way they'll be able to see exactly what it should look like when it's done. Whenever you're doing specialty or multiple print processes, always do a composite file. Now I will copy this artboard, so I'll press Alt and just drag, and that copies everything that's on the artboard. I'm going to do it twice, and since I know I need a lot of space to the right, I'll do it below. Now, one of these is going to be only digital printing, and one of these is going to be only engraving. So I'll delete the engraving on one, and I'll delete the digital printing on another. This is when we can go ahead and outline all of that text, and they're going to need it in 100% K, which is typical for almost all specialty printing processes. This top one is the one I'm sending to Printswell. Before I move anything, I'm going to add a rectangle that is the final size of the project. So 5.5 by 8.5. I'm going to center it and group it with everything that's on the page. Now I'll resize the page. So we want height of 9. And then I'll change the anchor point and change this to 9.75 so that most of that extra is going over here. And then we want to move this 0.25 inches to the right. So in object transform, we'll go move. We want to move it 0.25 horizontal and 0 vertical. And we should get a preview. Okay, we have even on all the sides and that final paper size that we want. Now I'm going to ungroup and make sure everything else is off of this page, and this should be formatted exactly as they asked for. So save artboard 12. Okay. In this case, I like to say which file it is, so invite print only, artboard 12. I'm going to keep the bleeds off again because he gave me those very specific measurements. So the artboard is that very specific size that we needed. And then for this piece, we have invite engraving only. That's number 13. And they asked for the 0.125 bleeds as well as trim marks. So in marks and bleeds, we will turn the bleeds back on and add trim marks. How much math is involved in ordering invitations? It's kind of crazy. That's the file we're going to send over to them, which is really just kind of emailing them. We already have the quote. We already have all the information. And then for the other piece that we're going to mail to them, we'll order our flat cards. This is going to be not a standard size. We need 9.75 by 9 inches. And this is double thick cotton natural white. No printing. Do our 135. Oh, we need 195. So as you can see, this is a massive cost here, and this is before the engraving. Okay, invite print only, no bleed, but that's fine. And we will add that to cart. And this is the one we're going to send directly to the engravers in order for them to engrave on it. Then we'll send them the engraving file so they can start making the die. And then we can press send on this order once we get the full PDF file of all the addresses done. I have another video all about mail merging if you want to see how that's done. The last thing we need to order is our wax seal. We need to do 130 of these. You can typically get about 10 from every stick, and these come in packs of 6. So it's about 60. 2 of those will get you about 120. I want to overcompensate, so I'm just going to order 3 packs of 6. Add to cart. And then we need our custom wax seal, so wax stamps, design your own. Round, we're going to do 1 inch. And I don't really care about the handles. The brass is pretty, but it's more expensive. I have too many of these. I'll just get a blunt one. To set up that design file, Artist Air has specific files that you should use for setting things up. We have them in our Stationer's Creative Cloud Library. Under the die cut shapes, we have an instructions document here if you're not really sure how to handle that, but here we have our 1.5 inch round. So I'll press Alt and bring that out. In this library, it says 4x4. That is the size that we actually want to make the artboard. So I need to give us a little more space. 4x4. And then on their instructions panel, you can see the blue is the die edge, the red is the bleed area, and how you can set up the dies. And then how you can set up all your information. It's weird that they require it on a 4x4 artboard, but that's just where we're at. So I'll save this. And since they want it at 4x4, I will not do the bleeds. Okay, it's 11. Turn off all of the bleeds. And then right here, grab our wax stamp proof, upload it. I don't have any notes, and I will add it to cart. So now we are ready to check out with all of these orders. Isn't it so fun? It took me about 45 minutes here to order all these things, and that doesn't include any kind of designing or working with the clients, mocking up, and of course, the cost of actually ordering everything. So let me know what questions you have. A couple of the tools that I used are our Stationer's Creative Cloud Library, which I'll link in the description, our printable palette, which helped us get a digital match for the engraving printing. I'll link that in the description. And of course, we have a ton of other videos here on YouTube that will help you with things like bleeds, merge files for the envelope addresses, and other things that we might have glossed over in this video with respect to your time. So let me know what questions you have. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed setting up some files for print with us.